What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Life Creative. I'm your host, as always, Peter Whittam. You can find me at peterwhittam.com. In this episode, I want to talk a little bit about how you see your work and what it means to you. And let me put a little context around that for you. So I'm going to make an assumption here, right, on these comments. I'm going to assume that you're not creating something for a customer, a client, an agency, whatever it may be. This is purely you creating work for yourself, right? Projects that you work on, whatever it may be. But basically, you are doing this for your own satisfaction, right, rather than anybody else's. And that's part of what I want to talk about there is when we create things for ourselves, I think we have a very different attitude towards them because we're not necessarily fitting a brief for something that we need to create or a set of requirements, something like that. And therefore, we feel a little more open when it's work that we're doing for ourselves to allow the project, whatever it may be, to deviate from the intention a little bit. So, for example, you may be out, may say to yourself, gosh, I wish I really had just a beautiful landscape photograph to put on the wall. And I know just where I want to go to take that photograph. And you get there and you're not getting exactly what you wanted in your mind's eye before you took the photograph, but you're getting pretty darn close. Well, you have the ability there to say to yourself, is this good enough? Is this what I want it to be for my own personal picture that I'm going to hang on my wall, not somebody else's? And, we can then negotiate with ourselves. Is this what I want? Do I shoot this but say, hey, maybe I'm going to come back next week? For example, maybe the spot you go to, turns out it's closed because of the crazy world that we live in. Or there's some construction, or there's something going on in the background that you don't want, right? I'll give you an example. Maybe it's a shot from a river. I live very close to the Trinity River here in Texas, and it's very scenic. There's a lot of great scenic views. But there was one particular view that was kind of ruined, I guess, in my opinion, because they put some housing estates up and you can just see them in between the trees in the background enough that it bothers me. And so it kind of ruined that shot a little for me. Now, that's just my opinion. But again, if I was taking this picture to put on my wall, maybe I'm okay with that. Or maybe I say, hey, I'll retouch it in post and it's fine. Or maybe I say, you know what, it's just not going to work as the shot now. There's too much post editing involved and it's not going to work for me. So how do you feel about that? When you're creating your own works for your own consumption, your own, satisfaction, putting them on the wall like I do with my photographs. And I hope if you're a photographer or an artist, a visual artist, and you do maybe, paintings or whatever, drawings, whatever they may be, things like that. I really do hope that you do some work at least to put on your own walls to remind yourself. I have a photograph of the Alamo that I absolutely adore. I was lucky. It's exactly what I pre-visualized. And every time I go past it in the house, I have to stop and look at it, even for a couple of seconds, just to appreciate it. And sometimes I stop it even longer and look at all the little details, and I always find something that I hadn't quite seen the same way before. So I really hope that you do that. But how do you handle that process? Is it acceptable to you if it's not quite exactly what you want, or do you hang in there till the very end? And in line with that is, how do you feel about those around you appreciating that work? Does it bother you? Does it even matter, right? If it's something that you're doing for yourself, does it matter if anyone else likes it or not? For me, no, it doesn't matter because it's for me, right? Especially if it's an image that I'm hanging in my house, I'm hanging in my office, things like that. If I'm hanging it in my office, absolutely, whatever I want it to be is fine. If I'm hanging it in the house, I think to myself, what does it fit everything else that I got going on in the house? Do the other people in the house, is it going to be okay with them? Something like that. So it's kind of a consideration there, but ultimately it's my work and I'm fine with it, right? Now, if I was to post that online somewhere or something like that and everybody hated it, okay, fine. But it's for me, so it doesn't matter, right? And in all likelihood, I might share it online, but if it's for me, most of the time I may just put it on my wall and be happy with it. Not everything has to go out in the world to be seen by everybody, right? Or potentially everybody. So that's something else you may want to think about is, how do you receive reviews, thoughts, opinions, comments on work that is purely for you? And I think you need to be very consciously aware of that, because there's a lot of, you don't want to ruin a great picture or a great painting, whatever it may be, something. You don't want to ruin a great piece of work, a sculpture, something that you've done that means an awful lot to you, and everybody hates it. Don't let that ruin your feel and thoughts and the emotions that it gives you, right? It's your work, and don't let others influence how you feel about your work, I guess, is the key there. I'd love to hear all your thoughts about, what I'm talking about here. You can either leave them in the comments below. Again, you can go to peterwitham.com and you'll find a post for this video and this episode, or the podcast if you're listening to just the audio version. And I'd really like to hear what you think about that, because appreciating our own work and the way we see our own work is perhaps the most, vital thing of all, right? Because if it doesn't meet our expectations and our thoughts, then it's, not really looking like it's going to be much of a good chance for it reaching anybody else's either. But we must be happy with it at the very least. Hope this helps. Let me know. Again, go to peterwitham.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.